What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. In today's video, I'm going to take you through the crafting for blacksmiths. I'm going to tell you about all the thralls, how the different benches work, and show you a general overview of how the new thrall crafting system works, how you inject more damage into your weapon than you were able to before. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is thralls. They have changed. They now have different specifications instead of having particular or specific recipes. So you're not going to find specific recipes from thralls anymore. You are only going to find that they have specifications for adding stats to your weapons. So what I've done here is I've crafted a bunch of different iron broadswords with a bunch of different thralls. So this is the iron broadsword that I crafted without a thrall. You can see it has 16 damage and 8% armor pen with 540 durability. I then have an iron broadsword that I crafted with a tier 1 blacksmith, and it gives me 17 damage, 8% armor pen, and 556.2 durability. And what you're going to see with this is it goes across the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 blacksmith. So with the tier 2 blacksmith, what I got was 17 damage and 8% armor pen, which is not an increase over the tier 1 blacksmith, but the durability did go up again to 571.3. If we move over to the tier 3 blacksmith, again, the health damage and armor pen are the same, but you get more durability at 587 durability. So for this, what I'm going to say is early game, grab whatever blacksmith you run across, level 1, level 2, level 3. They are going to inject some stats into your weapons, and that's a good thing starting out. When we get into the tier 4 or named blacksmiths, things get a little bit more complicated, and they also get a little bit more specialized. So the specializations are what you're going to want to look for when deciding what crafter you want to use in order to craft that weapon. So the first one that we're looking at is a temperite. It's the one with the shield icon. Now what the shield icon does is it increases your armor penetration. It also increases the stats for your durability and for your damage, but its main focus is going to be armor penetration. Now, one side note with this particular specification is if you craft a weapon that has 0 armor penetration, you are not going to get armor penetration from that weapon by using this specialization. Now the numbers on the iron broadsword look pretty low, but honestly, as you continue to grow and get better weapons, these numbers change drastically, so keep that in mind for later on in game when you are making these weapons. And that goes for all of the tier 4 thrall specifications. Obviously, the higher the numbers, the bigger the change is going to be because it's all done on a percentage basis. The next one on our list is the Bladesmith. Now, the Bladesmith icon is simply a little blade. That's how you know it's a Bladesmith. And what the Bladesmith does is it adds more health damage to your weapon. It also adds more durability, and it leaves the armor pen alone. The other thing that I should note real quick is actually the weight. So if you look at the weight for the iron broadsword, as we go through the different specifications or specializations, you can see the weight actually reduces all the way down to 2.9 with a named thrall. Going back to the Bladesmith here, you can see that we have 20 in health damage and a total of 704 durability. So that's an increase of 4 points on this particular weapon. And the last one on our list is the temperite. Now, this particular blacksmith is going to give you the most durability for your weapon, and you can see it's a 777.6. It also gives you the weight reduction that I was talking about earlier, and you may think, well, this blacksmith is probably not the one that I want to get, but I'm going to show you why you want a tempersmith in this video. They're very important for your gameplay, so stick around and I'll show you that. Now let's talk about benches. Everybody that's played Conan Exiles for a while are familiar with these two benches, the Blacksmith Bench and the Improved Blacksmith Bench. Both of these have been in game for quite some time, but there is some changes that have happened to these benches as well. The Blacksmith Bench hasn't really had any changes. You can see you unlock it at level 10 and all your standard recipes are going to be in there. Moving over to the improved Blacksmith Bench, however, you now unlock this guy at level 30. And this is going to give you a 25% resource cost reduction over using the regular Blacksmith Bench. So I absolutely recommend upgrading to the improved Blacksmith Bench at level 30. That way you can start reaping those benefits of the resource cost reduction. And again, that's a 25% resource cost reduction. Moving on to the new benches that were added with update 2.3, and that's going to be the Garrison Bench and the Campaign Bench. Now, both of these benches are unlocked at level 55. So the first thing that I want to cover with the new benches is the size. So the Garrison Bench fits on a 2x2 platform, so 2 foundations by 2 foundations. You can see it fits nicely in there. If we move over to the Campaign Bench, however, you can see that it doesn't quite fit in a 2x2. I've got it kind of jammed in there. You could maybe get it a little bit closer to the wall and a little bit straighter, and it might fit in a 2x2, but it kind of leaks out of that 2x2 area. Which really, if you think about it, you wouldn't be placing something in this block if you had this bench or this bench there anyway. So the other benches kind of take up the same amount of space, not really, but they all kind of fit in that 2x2 area, except for the Campaign Bench, which I feel like just bleeds over the 2x2 area. So like I said earlier, there was a lot of changes to the crafter thralls, and one of those changes on top of them not having specific recipes was that their bonuses were taken away from them. So you don't get a cost reduction bonus or a speed bonus from your thralls. You don't craft things quicker with a thrall on there. So those bonuses have been moved to the benches, and they were separated. So the Garrison Bench is going to be a resource reduction bench. And basically, the reduction on the bench is 50% from the original Blacksmith Bench and an additional 25% from the improved Blacksmith Bench. One of the things that you'll want to note about the Garrison Blacksmith Bench and the Campaign Blacksmith Bench is they don't have some of the standard recipes. So if I search for iron on here, you're not going to see an iron axe. However, if I come over to this bench and I search iron on here, you will see I have an iron war axe. So you're going to need to keep your improved Blacksmith Bench if you're planning on crafting any of those low level items. Now the Garrison Blacksmith Bench is where I think most players will probably settle on a bench because it's a resource reduction, and if you're not resource heavy, if you're not resource rich, you'll probably want the resource reduction over the crafting time reduction. But let's talk about the Campaign Bench, because you may find yourself in a situation where you actually want to use this bench. And the reason why I bring that up is Isle of Sipta. Many of the Eldarium weapons take a long time to craft. So, for an example, I crafted this bite on both of the benches, the Campaign Bench and the Garrison Bench. On the Campaign Bench, this weapon only took 2 minutes to craft. However, if I went back over and crafted it on the Garrison Bench, it took 6 minutes to craft. So that's a big difference in reduction of time spent crafting. It does, however, cost more resources to use this bench. So if we look at the bite on this bench and we see the recipe there, you can see it's 1 weapon handle and 63 Eldarium to craft this bite in 2 minutes. However, if we run back over to the Garrison Bench and we take a look at that same recipe, this guy is only going to cost us 31 Eldarium. However, it is going to take 6 minutes for that weapon to craft. So that's something that you're going to have to decide. If you're resource heavy or resource rich and you want to have that weapon craft faster, then obviously you pick the Campaign Bench. If you're resource light and you don't mind waiting for that weapon to craft, obviously you're going to pick the Garrison Bench. Now there's nothing that says that you can't have all 4 of these benches in your base. it's going to be a space alligator and just eat up the space in your base, because you can see how much space all the different blacksmith benches take up. But that is totally up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to play the game. I'm just going to give you the information and let you decide. The other thing that I want to talk about is Purge Recipes. So if you were familiar with the game prior to update 2.3, you knew that a Purge recipe appeared on the Blacksmith Bench once you put a Purge armorer on it. And that recipe is actually this steel reinforcement made from 1 iron reinforcement and a steel fire. This, however, has been loaded to any blacksmith tier 3 or above. So keep that in mind, that this recipe will become available with a tier 3 blacksmith or above. And for a pro tip for you guys, something that you might want to keep in mind when choosing the benches that you want is that if we come over here and we have the Garrison Bench, which is the resource reduction bench, the recipe is the same because it's always 1 iron reinforcement and 1 steel fire. So I've got enough to craft 500 in here. And if we just watch the first one craft, we can see and gauge about the amount of time that it takes to craft that. So there we go, we have 1 completed. If we run over here to the campaign blacksmith's bench, again, this is the one that is going to reduce the crafting time for your resources. And this one is the same recipe, so 1 iron reinforcement and 1 steel fire. And if we click the craft, you can see how much faster these craft on this bench. In about the amount of time it took us to craft 1 on the other bench, we've crafted 2 or 3 on this bench. And for you builders out there, the speed of crafting these steel reinforcements on the campaign bench is probably worth the resources and the space in your base to make this bench and produce these resources. Now, you remember when I was telling you about the specification that added more durability to your weapons, and this is where you want to put that thrall. This is the Tinkerer's Bench. It unlocks at level 12. And what you could do with this thrall on the Tinkerer's Bench is craft the legendary weapon repair kits. And this is the recipe for the legendary weapon repair kit. It requires 1 master weapon repair kit, 5 alchemical base, and 5 oil. Additionally, and this would go in another video and will go in another video, but since you're here and watching, if you put an armorer of that classification in this bench, you can now craft the legendary armor patch kits. And that recipe is 1 master armor patch kit, 5 alchemical base, and 5 oil. And that's all I have for this crafting guide. If you're wondering where to find any of these different thralls, I do have a thrall guide to the exiled lands on my channel, and I'll link that in the description of this video and possibly in the right hand corner of this video. Let me know if I missed anything on crafting or blacksmithing in this video in the comment section below, or just what your general thoughts about the new crafting system are. The whack moments in this video were sponsored by my legendary supporters. If you'd like to become a member, you can click the button below that says join. That'll give you all the details. And if you want to continue the fun, there's 2 videos on the screen. You can pick one of those to watch next. Please don't forget to whack the like button. And if you're new to the channel, I'd encourage you to click that subscribe button, click that bell so you get notified when I upload another video.